It's Monday on Your View. Welcome to the show. I am Murayo Afolabi Brown. As always, I have the ladies with me. Hello, Tokwe. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning.
How are you doing? How was your weekend?
It was very, very busy, very eventful. My baby, I said to her, I said, my last card is 5 and it's no longer a baby anymore. And then everybody was now, please, my last card is 5. And I just feel very grateful. I was pregnant on Your View all through till like 2 days to my delivery. And I gave birth and resumed 3 weeks after. So Samuel was like a makeup room baby. All the makeup artists were always the one carrying him for me. And I'm just so, it makes me feel like I'm really getting old, but it also makes me very grateful to see the man is becoming, like there's some level of maturity and all of that. The boy is becoming.
I saw that yesterday. He knows what he wants.
Yes. He did not give me a choice. So, not in this economy, but and thank you. Mariah was our MC for the day, and
we don't talk about Friday night alone.
Yeah, I was not on Friday night. I couldn't make it, so
I enjoyed it. You see that party thing, I used to do it a lot. I mean, that was like my other sidekick on the weekends back in the US. But I just never, I knew when I came home, my girlfriend Timi Onobolu does it. She now used to call me to do that part. So she'll get the deal and ask Mariah to come and do the kids' party part. So I did it for a while. I don't even know why I did not continue.
Please, you need to go
I
back.
actually enjoyed it.
It was so to be executive.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
I'm doing amazing and grateful for life. Friday was a wonderful, tiring day for me. We finished work. I had to go back to do another form of work. Then we went to party. It was good.
We saw what happened on Instagram.
I had so much fun. And I've told YK, I say every month, the ladies of Your View will hang out and unwind and relax. We had lots to eat and drink and dance. So they gave me a microphone and I mumbled something in the name of singing.
How would you be there and BC is there with you and will not sing? You must sing now.
They forced me, Miriam and Nima. But we had fun. Then yesterday we went for your party. So it's been a party weekend.
Fun weekend.
Yeah,
Hi,
so
Mariam.
fine, thank you. So that's my banter. Of course, we hung out on Friday. It was really interesting. It was nice to unwind, but because I did that, I couldn't make yours because I had to plan everything immediately the next day. Very early in the morning, I had to take my son to write his exams, so we were there for hours.
How was it?
He said it was some was easy and others were hard, but he's okay. It will go well. Remember, it was a plan that we had to make him understand that you have to read better.
It's a serious business.
He says that he thinks he will pass.
Very confident.
Just to get him adjusted to what it will be like when he finally starts to write. But also because he hasn't been paying too much attention to schoolwork. So I thought,
let's shake
him up a bit. And he didn't really shake him the way I thought it would.
He's very
confident boy.
I love your earrings though, Mariam.
Thank you.
So
and the braids, you've made a new hair.
Fine.
And of course, we cannot miss Mariah's hair.
You look different.
We can't miss Mariah's hair. Like the dreads are finally gone.
Yeah, I just had to put that aside for some time. But I wanted to try something new. So somebody said
this is good.
This week I was going to post her name on social media, but thank you so much for the week. I really appreciate it.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a different look.
It gives you a sweetheart shape.
Okay, because that was not what I was thinking, but thank you for saying that, because I thought it made my face look rounder.
No,
it's all good. Okay, so there's so much happening in the news. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we go through the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Right, let me start with the Nation. Rage over attack on Autumn. That's the governor of Benue State. Dangote fertilizer ready in 1 week. Gowon pushes for rotational president. CBN disburses 149.2 billion naira COVID-19 loans to households. Hijab Baptist Convention protest in Kwara. South governors under fire for insecurity. And police arrest 3 over the Ekiti by-election. Okay, let's start with the
South.
Yeah, let's start with South.
Okay, yes. So the South Elders Forum and the Movement for the Survival of Izon ethnic nationality in the Niger Delta, Mossad, are putting the South governors under fire, saying that they promised to handle the cases of insecurity, and they also promised a year ago to have a regional security outfit, just like Amoteco. But so far, it seems like they are not serious with the insecurity issues that are happening in the South. And so they are asking that the South governors also need to have a plan on how to maximize their 13% derivation. If they are saying that they need money, they also know that there are security votes that come in. This is the time to use it tangibly to fight the cases of insecurity. But the governor of Delta State responded, saying that they had to pause that plan. They had already set up a commission to handle the, and they are waiting for the report. They had to pause because of COVID-19, and they had to set up a Delta Hawk in Delta State just to. So their security the regional security outfit they are planning should not be compared to Amoteco. He's not saying Amoteco is political, but it's about how well and not how fast they go.
Right.
So they should give them time.
Let's talk about CBN for a moment.
Yes, so CBN, because of the pandemic and the lockdown and how it affected economic activity, people lost jobs. We just know how it affected people economically. Had released a fund, which 150 billion naira fund, and that the first phase, and this was just to help households and people who had lost jobs who were affected by this pandemic. And for the first phase, 869 households have received their fund. 316,869 households have received their funds. And it's to help them, cushion the effects of what happened. Right. First of all, to be able to you have to get it through NISA Microfinance Bank, and every household has the ability to get between 3 million to 25 million at a 5% to 9% interest rate, which will be paid over a year, 3 years. And they said they're so happy with the positive impact so far, and they're going to try and increase the fund to 300 billion, and the next phase will start very soon.
All right, let's move on quickly now to the Punch. Autumn's attempted assassination. Governors, Middle Belt, others express anger. Inspector General dispatches special probe squad. NAFDAC warns Nigerians against fake AstraZeneca vaccination. Forex scarcity threatening airlines operations, says Onyema. Oshomole government probe, not a witch hunt, says Obaseki. NDLA seizes 200 kg hard drugs in Lagos, Kano, Abuja airports. Picture here of the traffic on the Oshodi-Apapa Expressway as the failed portions of the road in Osobega was also captured here. Ogun Free Trade Zone investments about $300 million, and minimum wage National Assembly raises panel to avert strike. Okay, so I read the major headline. We can take it here.
The governor of Benue State, Governor Autumn, on Saturday was attacked by, he said, 15 bandits. They tried, and luckily for him, he was able to escape. His details took him away from there in his car. Then he was at his farm. Of course, reactions from everywhere. We have the 8th Ariwa Consultative Forum, Northern Governors Forum, the Nigerian Governors Forum. Everyone, of course, has called this an outrage. They cannot believe that such a thing will be done to a sitting governor, and they got away with it. But the IGP has also said that immediate effect investigation is being done. They also sent a specialized investigative body to Benue State to support investigations happening. They will be found and prosecuted. The presidency is also saying that there must be full and transparent investigation of the matter. There's a group called Fulani Nationality. They have claimed responsibility. They said there were 11 members that did this, and that was just for a technical error that the governor was able to escape. Wow. That they did this for the millions of Fulanis, because this governor has used his office, to push an agenda against the Fulanis. But we know Governor Autumn has always spoken out against the banditry, the fights with farmers' crops being destroyed. And so for them, this is their way of getting back at him. I hope that these people are found quickly and are prosecuted for what they have done.
NDLA seizes 200 kg. Who has that story?
Yes, so I have the story. NDLA has seized about 200 kilograms of illicit substances from traffickers across the 3 international airports, Kano, Abuja, Abuja and Lagos. The one they got in Lagos, a 41-year-old Adewi was arrested trying to export 650 grams in the UK. Right. Then they caught another person who was trying to export 107 kilograms, and he had to hide it under textile materials, labeled it as tea, but they suspected because he pushed it from Lagos by road. So they were asking, why didn't you, since they are tea, why didn't you just send it straight to the country you were taking it to? And then they had to subject, okay, let's even see this tea. They had to subject it to a test and realize it was cocaine. So it's tiring, really. So the NDL...
I love what NDL is doing.
Yes,
as in, I cannot see
well.
Leadership and performance, and then there's a chain of command, and then there's reports consistently on how this leadership change is leading to catching more drug.
But it shows you how comfortable they have been for years.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Any more story in Punch? I was going to take the Obaseki story.
Go ahead.
So he's saying that he's not witch hunting his predecessor. He's actually, after a 30 billion naira money that was embezzled, I think it was for a water resources project in that state, in Edo State, and it's not a witch hunter. It's important for him as a governor. He's in charge, and he has to show that that money is traced, and then those who... So it is probing the administration.
Yes, it's probing the administration.
It's not a direct witch hunt on him as a person.
I think that we should stop seeing every probe as witch hunts. Probe is to confirm if you were corrupt. If you're not corrupt, they would release you. So
let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we continue the front pages. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're going to move on now to Vanguard. Governors, APC, others rail against attack on autumn. I think we talked about that already. Let's find a story. 700,000 jobs. Buhari orders release of payments for beneficiaries. Why Treasury looting persists in Nigeria, says Archbishop Kaigama. How to achieve recovery, inclusive growth, says bank CEOs. Herbalist, bricklayer arrest over kidnap, murder of woman and a 4-year-old son. Okay, which story are we taking? Who has the jobs or the Kaigama?
So the two of let me start with the jobs. One, the federal government has the president has mentioned that the payments for the 774,000 jobs be disbursed. So now, the minister in charge, Festus Keyamo, mentioned that he has now directed the NDE to release the funds. It's a bit, I know that, I thought when they wanted to start a job, they should actually already plan how the funds be released. It shouldn't be a ceremonial thing. But it just supports what the Archbishop, that's the Catholic Archbishop of Abuja, His Grace Most Reverend Ignatius Kaigama, said yesterday that looting has persisted in this country because our leaders have no conscience. He said the political ambition and misuse of political funds would continue to thrive. He was speaking at the Paso Abuja St. Patio's pastoral area, and he's saying that we must die to self, we must listen to our conscience, leaders must, public resources of a great nation is what we have allowed to enter into our personal pockets. Simply saying that we need to speak up, also encouraging Nigerians to speak up more against the injustice in terms of funds.
There's a story I missed in Vanguard. We'll come to the 4-year-old son that was reported. The diaspora cash remittances had dropped by 27% to about $17.2 billion. Remember, we were excited. During the time, I think it was 2020, or no, 2019, it was about 30-something billion. Then it came down to about 25 or 24 billion. Now it's about $17.2 billion.
Brian, I already told them the solution. What I know was happening is that at 2019, the difference between the official rates and the black market rate wasn't that high. So people will still follow the official rates. The regular channels. But right now, the difference is too wide apart. And the foreign governments too are trying to keep their money in the country. So they've also made a lot of policies making it difficult for you to bring money back to the country. So there's a whole lot going on.
Let's talk about the human interest story.
Yeah, so this happened in Ogun State. A 29-year-old herbalist, Bao Kubuyi, and his partner in crime, Modular Lamide, abducted a woman and her 4-year-old son. and kill them for money rituals. So according to the husband, when he reported to the police, he said they went out and he didn't see them again. So he went to the police and reported. Investigations were carried out, and they realized that they first of all arrested the herbalist who pointed them to the second person. And they realized that the man came to him and said he needed to make money. So the herbalist said, yeah, go and bring a woman and a boy. And they killed these people in cold blood, threw the bodies in the latrine. And till today now, because looking at the picture story when I saw it, they still look very poor and wretched. So I do not even understand where the money they have killed people for went to. They don't have the money.
Value for life.
It's horrible. So the case has been moved to the state CID.
I think we need to start killing those people that are the money ritualists. These money ritualists that are...
What are we arresting? Just killing them, right?
Yes. Shoot at sight.
Kill them, because they are the ones inciting people to go and kill, bring blood, bring baby, bring this one.
Whoever told you that a human being will give you money?
Nollywood.
Nollywood,
Nollywood has informed us.
That. They've stopped acting.
There's no Nollywood movies that educated us, because these things are subconscious. There's somewhere within our mind that it's money ritual, that's how they do it. That's how they treat you. That's how they do it. You're not going to try to get your own. So it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
We're not sending out.
Is there another story that we didn't say that you wanted to take? Okay, let's move on to Daily Sun. Let's find a story we've not taken. Anambra under siege, says Obiano. Vacate Akwa Ibom with immediate effect. Militants order international oil companies. How to make Eyimba economic city reality like Dubai, says Obani CEO Top 2 Group. Ekiti by-election, police arrest 3 over killings. Shot policewoman survive, says CP. And Southeast Town Union says farmers at mercy of herdsmen. Let's talk about Ekiti there. Who has that story? Okay, go ahead, please.
Another sad story. The by-election that degenerated into violence and 3 people were killed. There was a policewoman involved, although there's been a story saying she was killed as well, but the report is trying to say that she hasn't been killed. She's in hospital recuperating. Of course, the governor and everyone involved that's important has said that, 3 hoodlums have been arrested. Right. And they are known, I think they are known political thugs. And they said that they'll be prosecuted, arraigned and prosecuted. And they say, and the governor says that as far as it's concerned, murder comes with capital punishment. That's what happened. And so we hope that eventually we'll see justice. But look at the annoying part of this, just such a tiny election. Was someone had passed on and the seat became vacant. Within, I mean, why would you go to that extent? What are you hoping to get? What sort of desperation? So the story is that there's so much that people gain from this office, apart from the job that they are meant to carry out. And so they would kill to get there.
I am even worried that these hoodlums will just be punished without tracing it back to the sponsors. The hoodlums did not wake up on their own to decide to scatter this election. They were sent by people, and I would like those people to be named and shamed and prosecuted so that it will stop. Those hoodlums, after a while, they will go and call one person and call the other person, and they will be released. And
but the governor is saying that they will get
the people who have died have lost their lives. They need to be compensated. It's very disheartening because we are begging people to come out and cast their votes, and then you don't know if you're going to get killed or not.
There are countries that are being through this phase, and they took drastic measures. Drastic. Like literally drastic. When these kind of things are that you just like, I don't want to say shoot at sight, but there's certain drastic measures that the country must take.
You prosecute them and you kill.
People know immediately that this is not
tolerated at all. And people get away with it. What's the political talk? It's not a job. It's not a job description. So somebody is a political talk and he's been known political talk for many years.
Godfather will get them out. Yes. After how you make the noise on this, somebody will make a call
and then they'll be released. Please don't take what is happening in Akwa Ibom. So a group of militants that were former members of MEND, the Emancipation for Niger Delta, the former member of Niger Delta Volunteer Force, they have been in these activist groups in Niger Delta area. Now, all these people now came together under a new group called Onye Kwesong of Akwa Ibom. I know I don't pronounce it well, but you take me like that. So they are clamoring for the fact that there is a local content law that some IOCs, international oil companies are not implementing. That only 2 have implemented the local content, and only 2 of the oil companies residing in Akwa Ibom they are doing their CSR. And they named those 2 as ExxonMobil and Savannah Petroleum. And he mentioned all the others, including Chevron, Oriental Energy, all sorts of other companies that they are saying vacates our location because you are not employing local our citizens. We are not getting the benefits of having this oil on our
Let's just
ground.
hope also that your leaders are not collecting money on the side, because those are sort of issues that have come up where they go to the back and collect money straight from the oil companies instead of monies to be used for the good of the whole community.
What I want is that can our senators and our House of Reps, can our lawmakers be the ones clamoring for this and not militant groups, so that they don't resort to self-help and violence? If they see the representative doing the job, they won't be the one to come out and be saying this.
We have to.
Are we moving on?
Yes, that's Nigerian Tribune. There are a few stories. ASU dismisses claims on fresh notice of strike. 2023 YPDP jettison zoning of presidential ticket. Flyover linking Ijebu-Ode Ekwe Road to be completed this year by Governor Abiodun. And Serap in court over missing 4.4 billion National Assembly funds. Which story are we taking, PC?
Okay, let me quickly take the ASU.
Okay.
So there's been speculations that they're likely going on another strike. So ASU is saying that there is nothing like a strike. The Minister of Education is saying the same thing, that they're actually in talks to try to resolve some of the issues that they've had so far. Though the ASU president is still saying that the state is, the federal government is victimizing its members, that some of them have are yet to be paid,
right?
You know, and so he's appealing that it's resolved so that they do not resort, you know, going back to another strike.
I was curious about why PDP decided against zoning, and their statement was they decided against zoning because they feel Nigeria is in major crisis and that they don't want to sacrifice region above competence, and their focus is on let everybody come forward and the most competent person should be right for the position. They also mentioned the fact that they want someone that can work 18 out of 24 hours, someone that can speak to world leaders equally, and that's what they are fighting for. We'll wait and see.
Okay, we have to run. Unfortunately, that's the last paper. But there's a story, there's a movie, Eyimofe, by Guardian. The GDN Studios is the subsidiary of the Guardian newspapers, and it's had this extensive international world tour. They went to various global film festivals and all that. They premiered in Berlin, British Film Institute, London Film Festival, and quite a few other places. So they are in Nigeria now, and they're about to premiere. And they said the movie has actually won quite a bit of awards. So it's interesting that if you take your movies outside the country and you get a bit of attention, bringing it home, I don't know, it's more profitable. It's a more profitable approach, right? What do you think?
No, what did they say about profits?
I appreciate it.
That's
why you should keep voting for Fela so that we bring that one.
Yes, yeah, true. That's all we can take on this segment. When we come back, we'll discuss our hot topic of the day. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, the issue of the State House of Assembly by-election in Ekiti State turned bloody. I'm not sure that's what we want to talk about. We're talking about the $1.5 billion that is being earmarked for the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt Refinery. That's the conversation we want to have this morning. Lots of people have said things about it. A lot of people have been worried about the fact that the government FEC had approved this amount of money, saying that we've spent about $25 billion in the past, I think, about 6 years or so in these 4 major refineries. And there is no guarantee that this money will be judicially used. And we're going to be bringing in a guest a bit later to help us understand this perspective better. But I'd like to hear the ladies' views on it. There have been various arguments. Some are saying, listen, you've got to tell me exactly what you want to use this money for. But do you feel better that the government, because we've all been clamoring for fix our refineries, remember? That we shouldn't depend on Dangote. That please fix all these refineries. So why are we quite uncomfortable with them saying, I have approved $1.5 billion to fix? Why is that problem with us?
We would complain. We would not be happy because you can't keep doing one thing a certain way and expect a different result. It's time for us to look at the alternatives. The government, they have said before that they have no business in building refineries. They have put in trillions to revamp and rehabilitate these refineries. These refineries are 32 years old, though, with old systems and machines and all of that, it cannot be revamped. This is just another way of, you know, siphoning money, if you ask me. They should ask questions. We should have like a national debate. Let's talk about options. We have experts in different fields that can come up with data on how we can effectively use that 1.5. Somebody was, I read a report yesterday that they had, you know, mapped out, they had done a cost analysis of what it would take them to build brand new refineries. And that amount of money would be like 2 or 3. So why don't we build brand new refineries? You can sell these ones for $1 to companies that can handle it, and they will use it as a business, and we will get profits that you as a government, you regulate. But for you to go and sink money in, the ones you sunk before, what happened? The refineries swallowed the money because there's not, for you to do a proper refinery, it needs to be comprehensive, and I don't think they have made any. They've looked into what they really want to put. We just want to hear 1.5 has been earmarked for it. After a few years, nothing happens. Please let them sell off these refineries to companies that can handle it, and they should build new refineries if they want it.
Okay, so you're thinking we should just privatize it instead of
privatize and build new.
Let me come to you.
So for me, it's that just listening to it is supposed to be, it's easy. No, don't do it. It makes no sense. Simple and short. But then, you know, sometimes when we sit in our homes, we're saying maybe there's this extra knowledge or extra secret knowledge that government has that we do not have. And so I've read different reports as well, listened to different experts. And what I've heard just further confirms that, you know, there's no need for government to be sinking that sort of money into something that is moribund. So first of all, we've talked about how much loss the country makes from our refineries. We're saying that, you know, in the latest report shows that we lose about 778 billion naira. We've lost between 2015 to 2019 from these refineries. I mean, if you were running your home and there was something that was supposed to help you generate money and you were at a loss for 2015 to 2019, you would do something about it. You would remove it, you would change it, you would find a different thing to do. So that is one. Secondly, we're talking about the age of this particular refinery. As old as it is, so machines are obsolete. And also, we had the former Vice President talk about how this particular refinery, it's almost the same as one that had recently been sold in the US. And it was sold for about 1.2 billion, and you're looking to put in 1.5 billion to do this. Thirdly, we just had recently Wale just, you know, giving us advice and telling us globally the world is moving towards green. You know, we're moving away from fossil fuel to clean energy. I would expect that that is where we're looking to put monies into. So everything that just been stated just seems there's no need for you to be putting money, except, of course, what is suspicious, which is we need to tamper we need to calm some tempers in a particular region. And so if we put money through this channel, it would seem as if, you know, we're doing something. Meanwhile, it means that at the end of it, people will just take money and go. And the only reason we're able to do that and do that so confidently and come and talk to Nigerians about it is because when people steal money, we do not prosecute them. Instead, we'll come together and be calling for the release of those who are already in prison. It makes no sense.
All right, let me come to talk about your initial thoughts on this.
Obviously, it's the same sentiment. Government has no business doing business. The aim of the government is to provide an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. So for me, the goal, what our government should be focusing on is creating a stronger policy framework, like finally passing the PI bill, the petroleum industry bill that we have been waiting for, that has been decimated, that has been broken down and brought up, that would have encouraged private individuals to put their money into the petroleum industry, which they haven't. Even though we have already given 39 people petroleum licenses, 2000 and whatever, they still haven't been able to. We don't have enough players that are licensed put their money in because they're still watching where will the government go with this? What would the policy be like? When they pass this bill, would it favor me? Should I still hold on? And many people are waiting. And these our leaders know. These people know because they said every time they push for this bill, the statement is that a lot of money coming into Nigeria is pending because we don't have a framework. The job of the government is to provide framework, not to push money into where they've considered money and it did not work. That's one side. The other side of this story is we have a government, the same government in the past almost 6 years, and it seems like there's no one coherent policy framework, because the vice president at the point said that modular refineries will be the way go forward, and then there was a policy move, and then there was announcements of modular refineries, and then suddenly we're now having the regular refinery getting 1.5 billion naira from. The modular refineries are cheaper to set up, can be domesticated in every location. Now, so it's that for me. We're not planning, like there's no proper blueprint on how we want to maximize this our resource.
Very correct. Now, see, at Tedopi's side this morning, elder statesman, he had put out a tweet saying that it's a waste of public funds and should be put to public debate. Now, I wanted to pick up the issue of public debate, because I think part of what I've always said is that our government sometimes take us for granted. You see, we've passed that level where you come up and wake up, oh, FEC has approved $1.5 billion, and we're ready to go. Let's just say, it doesn't work like that anymore. We want to have a conversation about it, because first of all, you spent X amount of billions over X amount of years. So we're saying now, if you actually want to spend this money, let us all break down. Help us understand exactly. I brought in XYZ experts. This is how much they have cost. This is what they have done. This is the public. We sent this procurement on this issue. This is how we've arrived at this figure. This is how long it's going to take us. Give us a break. Show us that you've actually done proper due diligence before you come about $1.5 billion. Do you feel that the government actually has considered all these various factors before coming out? Do we even trust that they have done it? Because this is also a trust issue. Because we have said, please fix these refineries now. And they're saying, I want $1.5 billion to fix it. Is it you don't believe your government?
So the challenge is that our minister for petroleum is our president. And that has been the biggest problem of our petroleum sector since inception, because right from this 1999, every minister for petroleum is the president. So you can't invite the president for questioning. How do you check and balance your president? Until we sort of like give freedom for things to do, like the processes to run efficiently within that sector, we will not have any major progress.
Okay, we'll bring in our guest. I'll still come and hear your thoughts on it, but our guest, Wale Ajayi, will join us after this break. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So we're still on this conversation of the $1.5 billion been earmarked by FEC to rehabilitate the Port Harcourt Refinery. Before we bring in our guests, I wanted to get your other thoughts on this.
So I remember a few months ago, the Vice President mentioned that the federal government had no business in running the oil sector and the refineries. So I don't know at what point they had a conversation and decided to change their mind. And what is the hurry? Why do they want to do it now? We know that our government does not work in continuum. So they start this project. It's not 2023 we are going to have another election. They abandon it, and some other persons come and cannot continue. Now we don't even have a probing system to probe the people who are supposed to be working. Everything will be abandoned, and we hear that everything is gone. So why do we want to do this now? Why this time?
Okay, let's bring in our energy expert. So hopefully he can shed some light on this for us. We have with us Mr. Wale Ajayi, a senior partner at KPMG. It's always a pleasure having you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Pleasure is mine.
All right, and we can also have our viewers can call us on 081-270-53687 and 091-390-76948. You can also tweet to us at TVC Connect. Please hashtag #YourVTVC so we can read your tweets. All right, Mr. Ajayi, thanks again for joining us. Now, this issue has been trending since last week, and Nigerians are still asking what exactly is the right approach for the government to address this issue of refineries. We thought we were all on the same page when they started with the Dangote refinery, and then Tokpa reminded us of the modular refineries that the Vice President had said we're going to go ahead. But what is the fact that 1.5 billion has been earmarked? In your view, do you think this is the best approach to help us fix this issue of petrol refining in our country?
Thank you so much. It's always great to be on this show. I think the first thing I would say is that when you look at what is happening in the global oil market, right, it's a blessing, and it can also turn out to be a curse. A blessing in the sense that when oil price goes up, we're happy because we can sell our crude oil at a very high price. Now, the price is hovering around $65 now. And unfortunately, because we're importing petroleum products, so it's a cost for us because then we're spending so much money, to import petroleum products. And so something has to happen. We need to be able to, refine our petroleum products. So when you look at what government has done, so you can sympathize with them on the basis that they want to be able to have petroleum products refined in Nigeria. But the question, of course, is that the right thing to do? When you look at the fact that we have 4 refineries in Nigeria, none of them has produced or refined a single liter, since 2019. And in 2019, there was even an attempt, to rehabilitate the refineries, and they couldn't raise $1.2 billion, that was needed at that point in time. The jury is still out, even though they've said they've raised the financing for the $1.5 billion. But the question is, why do we want to spend so much money, $1.5 billion, to rehabilitate the refinery that has not been working? We've spent so much money in the past, right, trying to rehabilitate this refinery. And so I can understand where people are coming from based on past experiences. It has shown to us that, look, government cannot run a refinery. So rather than spend $1.5 billion to run a refinery, to rehabilitate a refinery, right, it costs you on the average about $2 billion, right? To even set up a greenfield refinery that will produce about 100,000 barrels capacity of petrol. And so that is where people are coming from. I would rather we sell the refineries as they are, and we can then use the money and invest in infrastructure rather than spend the money to rehabilitate the refinery. Because past history has taught us that we may not get the desired results, from the refinery. And of course, the question is, why do you want to spend so much for something you want to sell? I think that is what piques the imagination, of people. Let me stop that. And
there's been always a constant question, and Sarah, do you think if we ask the government not to fix these refineries for now and retain our plans with Dangote refineries, is that sufficient on the long term? Or at some point, are we still going to have to come back to fix these refineries? Or as BC said, we should just privatize it, sell it?
Okay, the Dangote refinery is going to come on stream maybe next year or late this year. It's a 650,000 capacity refinery. In Nigeria today, we consume about 50 to 51 million liters of petroleum products. So we're going to need about 750,000 barrels of crude. So Dangote refinery will not be sufficient to meet our needs. So we still need some other refineries. Now the question is, do those refineries have to be government-owned or privately owned? I think that is the question. I don't support the idea of having a monopoly, right? So it's always better for you to have competing refineries. Now, someone talked about the modular refineries. The modular refineries, they're meant to be a sort of a stopgap, really, because what they produce is really little, compared to what we need. But it will also go a long way, at least to address, immediate problems of product supply, deficit in the areas where they're located. We currently have 2 modular refineries that are operating. So there is a Niger Delta one that has 11,000 barrels capacity, and there's Water Smith, which has 5,000 capacity, right? So what government needs to do is to encourage funding, for those investors that have already shown their intention, right, to establish modular refineries. So with respect to the 4 refineries that government has, they have a combined capacity of about 450,000 barrels, per day. But like I've said, they've shut down since 2019, and they've not produced a single liter. So my take is sell, privatize it at this point in time. Get the money we can. Let private investors put money. Now, I can draw your attention to Elema Petrochemicals. When it used to be run by government, it was run down. Private investors came in, turned around the company. So we've always known in Nigeria that there is really nothing that government does that works. So it is high time we privatize the refineries and let the private investors run it.
Gotcha.
They will use the money to turn around the refineries.
Okay. So, Mr. Ajayi, sometimes when government come out with these policies and announcements, I really don't like to just, go in and bash it. I'm wondering, do you think there's any scenario in which this can work, or why this may be a good idea that we may not be looking at?
what we can all agree is that we should, being a producing and oil producing country, we should be refining our petroleum products in Nigeria. We can all agree on that. I mean, we probably spend close to about $8 billion, to import petroleum products, right? And we still subsidize. So we all agree that we need to refine petroleum products. I think where people differ is the approach, right? So when I sympathize with government wants to save the foreign exchange that we're spending to import petroleum products. So we need to have our refineries working, right? But when you look at past experience, when you look at how much money, we spent close to about $25 billion for the past 20 years or thereabouts, trying to turn around our refineries. The fact of the matter is it does not work. So you can always go back to history. Now, government has no business, right, in running refineries. There is nothing that it's very difficult for government to convince anyone that if they spend the $1.5 billion, that will get the desired result. I think that is the concern that people have. I would rather privatize the refineries as they are. We'll save the $1.5 billion, invest them in rail and road, so that at least we can move the petroleum products around. Even when Dangote comes on stream in 2021 or late 2021 or 2022, the local corridor is choked up already. We're not thinking about how we're going to transport, how we're going to move the petroleum products. So rather we spend that money on infrastructure so that we can open up, the area and we can easily move the petroleum products.
So I wanted to ask you concerning, you already dealt with modular refineries, but we don't have the bill. We don't have a government policy that would drive this industry. Would you say that is why we haven't had as many people run with their license? Because from what I heard, we have 39 licensed companies to go into refining, but we don't have as many people doing operations within the refining. Is it because of the policy? Would the policy make things more efficient? Would you say that should be where we should be focusing our attention on, creating a policy framework that would encourage local and foreign investors to put their money into the refining process in Nigeria?
Okay, first thing, thanks for that question. Right, there are two issues. Number one, we've known about the inconsistency in government policy. But the other thing is that capital will always go to where the returns are great or the returns are high. Right? There is no way an investor is going to invest in Nigeria economy today, at least in refining, because the market is regulated. They can get bigger margins elsewhere. The markets are bigger elsewhere. So it's going to be difficult for you to get investors coming, except with your report to regulate. That is the first thing. Now, when you talk about the modular refinery, you're right in saying that government has a policy trying to encourage that. But like I've said, the modular refinery is a stopgap, really, because in terms of what they produce, it's really very niche, right? At least they will go some way in ameliorating the product supply, shortage in some of those areas where they have. Now, so that is very important. So what I would say is that the biggest challenge they face is more of funding, right? Because most of the banks are really exposed to credit risks from the oil and gas industry. So unless government is willing to provide some guarantee, for the funding, it's going to be difficult, for you to move the licenses that most of these people have gotten from the approval, to establish, to approval to operate. So currently, there are only 2 of those modular refineries are working, like I've talked about. The Niger Delta one that it has 11,000 barrels capacity, and the Water Smith one has about 5,000 capacity. So the biggest challenge they face is really more funding. So government has to find a way, to give access, to funding, to all those investors. But the biggest challenge we face is that we need to deregulate. What I think is that as soon as Dangote refinery comes on stream, maybe late this year or early next year, is that the market will have to be deregulated, because we cannot afford to have a monopoly.
All right, let me go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue this conversation with you. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Guest with us, the senior partner at KPMG, Mr. Wale Ajayi. BC had a question before the break. Go ahead, please.
Okay, Mr. Wale. There are conspiracy theories that have said that this 1.5 billion that the federal government wants to release for the rehabilitation of the refineries are actually going to be diverted and used for the 2023 elections. And Nigerians are worried and saying that this is actually a pattern. What do you think about it?
Well, I've had such stories, but I don't have facts to that effect. And I can understand where some people are coming from. And again, it's coming in from the fact that this government, when they came in, they said that those refineries are going to be privatized. They're not going to spend a single kobo to rehabilitate them. And we don't know what has happened, what has changed. But we know that they mean well in the sense that they want to be able for us to refine our own petroleum product because we're spending so much money importing them. And it doesn't make any sense for us as a big oil producer for us to be able to, continue to import our petroleum products. But I also understand where people are coming from. And people are coming from the fact that they spend so much money on these refineries. I mean, for the past 10 years, the highest capacity utilization that we've had in those refineries on the average is less than 25%. The Port Harcourt Refinery that they want to rehabilitate, before it was shut down in 2019, it was operating at about 30% or thereabout, and that was even in 2013, and it dropped to about 5.5%. So when you look at the capacity utilization of the four refineries, before they were shut down, it was 5.5%. And so the question is, if you're going to spend $1.5 billion to rehabilitate what we know has not worked,
right.
It costs you on the average about $2 billion to set up a new greenfield refinery. So why would you want to spend that money? So I can understand where people are coming from.
Mr. Ajayi, let me throw this in to you because I get really worried when Nigerians keep saying we should privatize, because we did privatize power, and we see where our private companies are today. Many of them are still talking about cost-reflective tariffs. They are having issues. Yes, they brought in funds to take over power, yet they're still having issues in ensuring that what they get, the revenue they're getting, is actually commensurate to their investment. So we're saying privatize. Do we even understand what privatize means in the past in the crude oil petroleum sector? Do we understand what it would mean for us, the consumers? Yes, we see the numbers internationally, but how beneficial is privatization? Because would they even have the capacity to turn around those refineries and make it profitable for them and even easy for us to use as consumers?
Okay, you're right. I mean, I like the question that the reference you make to her. What we've done with her is that we've sold government interest and we've brought in private investors. But remember that the cost tariff is still regulated. Yep. At the end of the day, people put in their money to make money, right? So we have not fully privatized power, right? So that is why people have been talking about cost-reflective tariff. All we've done is that we just allow private investors to take. When we talk about privatization, the best example is LME Petrochemicals. They used to be run by government. It was moribund for years before it was sold. Now, LME Petrochemicals is generating revenue, and they're paying taxes to government. They're paying dividends to government, right, to people. So at the end of the day, when we talk about privatization, we're saying take the Port Harcourt Refinery. I mean, it's about a 210,000 capacity refinery. All the four refineries, 45,000 barrels, right? Let's sell them as they are. Let private investors. Now, in selling them, means you need to be sure that you've looked at people that have the experience and the competence to manage refineries. Now, in the power case, remember that we didn't get any international investors, that participated in the power privatization. So that's also one of the problems that we have. All right. So you need to be transparent, and for them to be able to encourage private investors to come in, because they're going to spend their money. Right? So you have to deregulate completely the market. The market must determine the price. It's the same thing with telecoms. Remember when we had Nitel in those days, right? How many people had phones? How many lines do we have in Nigeria? When we started, the price to buy a SIM card was extremely very high. But now it's free. Right? So it takes time. We'll go through the pain, but we need to have private investors.
Right. Let me take
yeah, please go ahead.
Let me take this call. Call has been holding for a while. Faith, are you there?
Yeah, I'm around.
Thanks for calling. Go ahead. Favor, go ahead, please.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning. Yeah, live, Favor.
Yes, my name is Favor, yeah. Doctor, I agree with you.
Thank you, I agree with you.
I appreciate you so much. I'm around. So, let me go straight to my point of view. Honestly, I'm tired of all this, our government and our leaders. They never tell us the truth. Every day they keep telling us fallacy. You want to rehabilitate the refinery with $1.5 billion. Man, that is crazy. Honestly, believe me, they are not going to do anything with that money. They will just divert the money, share the money. Honestly, those our government officials are even dangerous than the coronavirus. Honestly, we need to flush them out. We need youth to come on board. The rest of all this, yeah.
Oh, we missed that call. Sorry, but that was Favor. I didn't really get what he's trying to say.
Yeah.
Let me come to your final question, Miriam.
So, you know, we've been talking about selling these refineries, and we've also talked about the state in which it is in, that's obsolete and outdated. And I'm wondering, who are the sort of people that would buy something like that? Because usually in Nigeria, we're the ones that always buy obsolete things from other countries. So who are these countries that will be targeting, or are they just different private refineries that may need bits and parts of this refinery? Then secondly, also, if we're talking investors, what kind of investors should we be looking at? I know you lightly mentioned it. Do we look at countries that depend solely on our crude oil and asking them to come and invest in private refineries here? Is this something that will be more profitable for them, or is it easier to do the logistics of just moving crude oil to their countries?
Thank you so much. That's a great question. When you talk about investors in this case, I don't mean you have to try to have all investors. And I'm not saying sell it piecemeal. I mean, we're selling it as it is, right? So as that's what we meant. Now, the conditions have to be right. If the conditions are right, investors will come in. The major objective of any investor is to make money. So if the returns are high, they will come in. Of course, the risks, for you to make high returns means the risk has to be very high. Right? So there has to be a correlation between your risks that you're taking and the returns. But for that to happen, you have to deregulate. If you do not deregulate, nobody will come in. Nobody will be interested. We're going to be the case of Venezuela. You know, Venezuela decided to monopolize, the oil industry. And all the industries left. Venezuela has the biggest reserve in the world. But they're suffering. Because the oil underground is of no use to you if nobody is willing to invest. When you don't have the money to invest, you need to bring in people, bring in capital to invest. So what we're saying is that the conditions have to be right? You have to regulate the market. People will come in. And the other things that I will say is how much are you going to sell crude oil to them? Because don't forget that these guys are coming from countries that are already, developed, right? The markets there are much bigger than Nigeria. The margins are bigger. And so what you then need to do to act as an incentive is to sell the crude. I mean, we have a domestic allocation of 445,000 barrels a day that NNPC currently serves because our refineries are not working, right? You have to sell to them at discounted price. And one thing I must say, I must give credit to for government, is that, from Dangote, they've said that they're going to allow them to sell in Naira. I mean, buy in Naira, which is good, right? So for you to encourage investors to come into Nigeria, because they won't come in if you're going to sell at international price. Because the same price is coming in the country. So you have to sell at discounted price, and they will be interested in coming into Nigeria.
You can't take over our school.
All right, so we're getting mixed. I can't hear you properly anymore. But thank you very much, Mr. Ajayi. It's always a pleasure having you on the show at this time. It's really worrisome. Well, I just hope that we can get some of demoralizing. Tech meetings on Wednesday. I'm hoping that with all these responses across, we can hopefully undo
And then I just wanted to ask before he left was...
No, we can't have any more questions.
I know. I was just saying, last thing that I would have loved to hear how long we have until the world goes global, the green energy, clean energy. Like how many more years do we even have to be talking about refineries and things like that, make money from our crude oil?
All right, let's go on a break. When we come back, move on to another topic. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. So, the hijab controversy affecting 10 schools in Ilorin, Kwara State still lingers. Today on the show, we're going to be having the proprietor of one of the affected schools and also a representative from one of the state Islamic bodies to share the perspective. And the reason why we're talking about this is because these pupils are about to write their SSCE exams in a few weeks. And unfortunately, they have not been allowed to go to school. And this obviously is going to affect their examinations. And we're quite worried about the fact that they've been unable to resolve this issue as we speak. So right now we have two guests. First, we have Reverend Dr. Dada, who is the president, Kwara Baptist Conference, and the proprietor of the Baptist Secondary School, Surulere, Ilorin, Kwara State, joining us on the show. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show. Are you there, sir?
Hello?
Yes. Welcome to the show, sir.
Yeah.
Right, and we're also going to be... We're also going to be having Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi, spokesman of the Kwara Muslim stakeholders. He'll be joining us in a minute. We've been trying to reach him, but we'll try to get him in a few minutes. But we're going to start the conversation with Reverend Dada. So, Reverend, we got reports that so far the government of Kwara State has instructed that these schools must reopen, allowing these pupils with hijab to start. Why have you, your school and others refused to open schools even after the government have directed so?
Thank you. Thank you very much for granting me this privilege and this opportunity to share with our viewers at home. The government of Kwara State ordered that the school be reopened and asked them to wear hijab. The reason why we are doing what we are doing is simply because Kwara State government is not respecting the rule of law. Nobody in this country is above the law. We all know that if a matter is in the court, the status quo must be maintained. This case is in the court. The court has not given a judgment, and the state government is already making a pronouncement. And of course, you know that that's contempt of the court.
So help us define status quo.
If the state government will not obey the rule of law, is a way of inviting or leading the state, not to a state of anarchy.
Reverend Dada, help us understand status quo. Are you suggesting that these pupils were not wearing hijab before? Is that a status quo before the issue was taken to court?
Yes, the issue that we took to court was the issue that the state government should give us back our schools. These are mission schools. These are government grant-aided schools. The missionaries and the churches started these schools, and we have been operating it and running it over the years. Some of these schools have existed for 70, 80 years, and we have a uniform that we've been using right from then. How come that somebody is now saying you want to wear compulsory hijab in the mission schools that we have been operating over the years, and hijab was not part of our uniform?
Okay, our other guest is here. I must acknowledge him. Sheikh, welcome to the show, sir. Are you there? I wanted to see your face. Sheikh. Okay, so I think he's still trying to get connected. Go ahead,
yes.
Mariam.
So I'm happy you mentioned the uniform part and the fact that it's a mission school, because one of the questions everyone has been asking is it a mission school? Is it a public mission school? Is it a government-funded public school that used to be owned by missionaries? So what exactly is the status as of today? for these 10 schools that we're talking about?
Thank you very much. The state of the school is that it is a mission school grant-aided by the government. It is not a public school. Our school is a government grant-aided school. The government over the years since 1974 has been offering grant in aid, which is the responsibility of every government to support, whether in education, in manufacturing, in agriculture, in whatever sector. The government's role is to support some of these private schools and private investment. So right from 1974, these schools have been grant-aided by the government. Till date, that has been what is on grant. It is not a public school. It is mission school that grant-aided by the government.
I have to bring in my other guests, but I need us to. I wanted you to clarify something, but based on what Mariam just said, let's be sure hijab is not the issue in the courts. The issue in court is ownership. Is it private or is it the government? That's the issue in court, not the hijab, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let BC come in here.
So I wanted to follow up. So, you know, you mentioned initially that you people have asked that the government return the school to the missions. And you're saying again that these are grant-aided schools. So if the schools do not belong to the government and they are giving the grants, why are you not asking the government to return the schools back to the mission? I'm a bit lost, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. The agreement that was signed in 1974 when David Bamigboye was the governor of Kwara State, it was the memorandum of understanding that the government of Kwara State will grant aid the school, and at any point in time when the government, when either the government or the proprietor feel is satisfied with whatever help that is coming, if any of the party can decide, to stop the aid. And for us, we are saying we are satisfied with what the government have done for us thus far, and we want to have our schools back.
Okay, let me now bring in Alhaji because we had some technical issues. But now, Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi, are you there? We really want to speak to Alhaji. Hello, sir, are you there? Still can't. I can see his face, but I don't know I can't. Okay, we're honestly trying to get Alhaji connected. Hello, sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
Oh, no, not you, sir. I'm trying to get Alhaji Ibrahim Abdullahi. Alhaji Abdullahi, are you there? Can you hear me? Okay, I think we still need to get him connected. Let me come back to Reverend. Yes, go ahead, please.
There are a few. I remember when we had the CPS for Kwara State come on the show a few weeks back or last week. He mentioned the fact that there are only two kind of schools in Kwara State. There are public schools and there are private schools. He also mentioned the fact that, so when you say mission school that is being granted, I think definitely it is important that the court gives a proper clarity on what that means. However, what I'm trying to understand, is it that these children have been in this school without wearing a hijab for a few years? Why the sudden clamor for hijab now? What is it that we're not seeing?
Are they new intakes?
Are they new intakes that are clamoring for hijab, or is it people that were already in the school? What exactly is the story behind the scene?
Reverend, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, that question was for you.
Okay, now, the question you are asking is the question every one of us are asking. This school have been there over the years, 70 years. The school have been there. We have our uniform that we've been using over the years, and we don't discriminate. And we allow both Muslims and Christians to come to this school. And they have the official uniform that they're wearing. The girls, the Muslim girls, wear beret, including Christian girls as well. Beret is our uniform for the girls to wear. And we are surprised that to the court, we did not go to court with any issue of hijab. and the case is in the court. The case that is in the court is that government of Kwara State, we appreciate you for what you have done thus far. Give us back our schools, and we don't want the use of hijab in our schools.
Okay, let me see.
And
all right, Reverend, let me pause you for a second.
Why the clamor for hijab now?
Reverend, let me pause you for a second, please, because I really want to get Alhaji Abdullahi's comments. Let me just test his presence one more time. Alhaji, are you there, please? Okay, we're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll try to focus on Alhaji for the next 15 minutes. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned. Your View will be right back.
Thanks for staying with us. We're still on this issue of the controversy going on with the 10 schools in Kwara State, but having some serious technical issues getting in touch with Alhaji. Hopefully we can call him on the phone and speak to him directly, because it's important we get his perspective on this topic. But Reverend Dada, are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
So many have said that this whole issue is politically motivated. What are your thoughts on this? People are saying that it is directly from the governor's office trying to incite some kind of violence, because we've seen people actually throwing stones, destroying property, and others protesting this issue. So in your view, what's the political element that plays out in this whole situation?
We are convinced that it's politically motivated. We are convinced, because if it is not politically motivated, why will a case be in court and the governor will be making a pronouncement? Number two, if it is not politically motivated, I think everybody, supposed to say over the school, but you refuse not to go to school, and you started stoning the church and destroying the property of the church. If it is not politically motivated, why will people come out en masse, to say they are going to burn down our church and they are going to burn down the school? If it is not politically motivated, I think every Nigerian is supposed to see their responsibility that the education of our children should be a priority to every one of us. Why destroying the church?
Right.
Why destroying the church?
So,
okay.
Go ahead. Sir, the truth is, they say when two elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. And now the case is for these children. What we want is for them to be able to sit down for their exams and write these exams. What can be done on both sides? For one, a stopgap resolution so that children can write their exams. Secondly, long term, what can we do so we can amicably come to a resolution here? First, a stopgap so they can write their exams. And then secondly, long term, what can be done? What do you want?
Go ahead, sir. Did you get the question?
Okay, the question is for me?
Yes, I mean, so far, it's only you I have right now. So the stopgap solution, yes.
We're saying what's the way forward? What should be done? Kwara State is a state of harmony, and we are all praying for peace. Knowing fully well that there cannot be progress, there cannot be development in the atmosphere of war, in the atmosphere of chaos. The way forward. Number one, let the Kwara State government respect the rule of law. That's number one way forward. Number two, allow the students to resume back to school with the status quo. No use of hijab, because this case is in court. Allow the court to do their job, and after they have done their job, it will still come back to the table of His Excellency, the Governor of Kwara State, to implement whatever that the court is saying.
Okay.
I think he's back. I think
Alhaji, are you there? Hello?
Hello?
Alhaji Abdullahi, are you there?
This is not Alhaji Abdullahi.
Hello, I can hear him now.
Okay, unfortunately, I have to...
But I've not heard what he said before that.
I don't even know who's speaking.
I think it's the one that I
Reverend,
hear you now.
Alaji Ibrahim Abdullah, is that you?
On.
Are you?
Just give me this.
Hello.
Thank you very much. I'm on with you.
Okay, I wanted to be sure it was Alaji I'm speaking to. Okay, sir. All right, thank you very much. Sorry we couldn't see you.
You are correct.
Okay, great. Now that you're on, so let me start over again.
I'm Johnny.
How did this issue of hijab controversy start from your end? We've heard from the Reverend. At what point?
Thank you very much.
Yes, let me just yeah,
okay,
go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, it started in 2012.
Okay.
And it was not a hijab issue.
Okay.
It was the visit of CAN members in Kwara to the former governor of Kwara State, requesting that their schools be handed over back to them. Okay. And the governor asked them, which schools? He said the Christian missionary schools in Kwara. Okay. Like Bishop Smith, like Baptist, Cherubim and Seraphim. They said yes. Okay. If these schools are the ones you are referring to, they are public schools, government schools. Muslims have their own too. They handed over the schools to us, and they have become public schools. Even when I was in Kaduna, that was the governor saying that. When I was in Kaduna, the time they took over the schools, I was a student, and St. John's College, Kaduna, where I attended, the names of the school was changed. The only problem Kwara has is because they have not changed the names of the schools. But schools handed over to the government by the Muslim and Christian missions have become public schools.
Right.
We cannot hand them over to you. And they pressurized the governor for about a year until 2013, when they threatened the governor that if he didn't hand over the school and he didn't, I caught the case lasted for 3 years. By May 16, 2016, schools belonged to the government, having been taken over 45 years ago. They now went back to the former governor to settle out of court, and the governor told them that we can't settle out of court since you went to court and you lost. The only option for you is to appeal. They appealed in 2016, and in 2019, September 19, Court of Appeal delivered judgment that the schools are public schools, run on public expense for the past 45 years or so. They can never be returned because they have been government property. The judgment also states clearly, the presiding justice stated clearly, that those who brought this case to us, Kwara Khan, they are medular interlopers. That is, those who do not have business with what they have brought to them, they now dismiss their case. Okay. So that's how they lost for the second time. Okay. They didn't bother to go to Supreme Court up till now. And I can tell you that they have not gone to Supreme Court. What Reverend Victor Dada said is not true. Okay. They have just gone to Supreme Court about a week ago, asking for stay of execution. And the judgment of Court of Appeal was a declaratory judgment. We can never be stopped by a stay of execution. So when they served the governor that they had gone to court, the governor passed it to the legal department, that's the Ministry of Justice. And the interpretation is that no stay of execution on a declaratory judgment that has been declared by the Court of Appeal.
So the government is right to
said that they are in Supreme Court. They are not yet in Supreme Court. They are yet to appeal. Okay. And I think they believe that if they went on appeals in 2019, they will lose. That's why they didn't go to court. How hijab matter started was the fact that since they lost the case in September 2019, they started removing hijab from the heads of Muslim students. Before then, Muslim students in all these schools and other schools, including government established schools, they've been using hijab. They've not been stopping them from using hijab. But to show that they are frustrated about the two judgments, they started removing hijab from the heads of the Muslim students. Muslims in Kwara have been very, very tolerant. It means that in the last 19 months, they've been removing hijabs. And we've been reporting to the government that they are violating the rights of these innocent students and children in our schools. The government was asking us to wait, that they would take action. Okay. So it's because they didn't take action. We now believe that we should follow our children to their various schools and enforce the court judgment of their fundamental human rights. Hijab did not start the issue. Return of school started it. They were frustrated with the two judgments, and that's why they went and started removing the hijab. That's just the issue.
It's always good to hear two sides of the story.
All right, Alaji. I wanted to ask, how many other public schools does the government of Kwara State have that is not related to mission schools? Are there other government schools that are not linked to mission schools? That's one. Now, secondly, I remember
I can tell you for okay.
Okay, I remember that in Delta State, when the state took over the schools from the mission, I attended one of those states, AGGS. It was Anglican Girls Grammar School. When they took over, they changed it to Asaba Girls Grammar School. Why hasn't the government changed the names of the schools if it actually belongs to the government?
Let me answer that question. That fault belongs to those who are in government between 1974 and 1976, when the schools were handed over voluntarily by both Muslim and Christian missions. That was their own fault. But what they said was that, we wanted to honor those who initially established the schools. That's why we retained their name. So Bishop Smith retained his name, Mount Carmel, and all others. Muslim schools too retain their name. And South Islam secondary schools, we have many in Kwara. And Southern secondary school, we have many in Kwara. Jamaatul Nasir Islam College, Muslim Council College, all over the state. So the quantum, the actual percentage of schools handed over by both Muslim and Christian missions will not be more than 15%. All other 85% schools were established by either the community or the government. So putting 15% of Christian and mission schools together with the already established government school and community schools that were handed over, put it 100%.
Okay,
so
okay, Alaji, let me get a few more questions in for you.
Christian schools in Kwara, they are not more than 15%.
Okay, go ahead. Okay, sir, I have this question that was sent to me, and I just wanted to pose it to you, sir, that the Muslim schools that you highlighted, do they allow Christians come into the schools without having to wear hijab? Like those Ansaruddin schools, the music community school, is hijab part of the uniform in such a way that even those that are Christians are made to wear hijab? Are there Christians in the schools?
Alaji. Alaji, that question is for you, sir. Hello? Okay, so we're trying to get Alaji back. Okay, so you hold that question, I'll bring it back to Alaji. Let me move back to Reverend, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like you to respond to what Alaji Abdullahi said earlier concerning the court judgment that is standing and the fact that these pupils had always worn hijab. That was 2019 that these Christian missionaries started removing the hijabs from them, and that's what started the problem. Hello?
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Reverend, you have the floor.
Sometimes when we are like this.
We didn't hear what you said, sir.
Make a problem there.
Yeah.
All right, I'm trying to... Reverend, are you there? Okay, I have to call his phone. Elijah, are you back? Okay, so I think we can take some tweets while we're trying to solve the technical issues we're having.
Bilkis Morenike says, people would use ignorance to pursue their personal agenda, then come and claim they are representing or fighting for their religious rights. They shouldn't be quoted because they are in a clear wrong or destroying church properties. She also says, I'd like to state for everyone and anyone who's watching this to know that Islam forbids strongly the destroyal of synagogues or house of worship. This is in the Quran. And know that whoever destroys a church isn't a conscious or knowledgeable Muslim. That's all I have here.
Okay. Do you have any decent tweets deserve. Okay, so whilst we're trying to get that, let's go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll try to see if we can get. It's important we get the answers to those two questions. Yeah. Okay, so we're trying to get those two. Yes, I need to confirm who we have. But let's take a few more. Do you have any decent tweets, Maria?
Well, someone is saying Vedex Entertainment says religion is part of the problem in Nigeria. Muslim children who attend Catholic schools in the UK and they are wearing hijab. So that's just from the other side.
We have to wrap up, unfortunately. We're having issues. Those two important questions that I wanted to get answers to. The question to Alaji was, are Christian pupils allowed to attend the Muslim schools, which is important, and if they are they forced to wear hijab? And secondly, I wanted to ask the Reverend Dada to ensure, okay, so they're back now. Okay.
Yes, I'm back.
So your Reverend, there was a question that was before the break. Alaji had said that the government is within their rights to ask the people to go back to school because obviously there's a judgment on ground and you've not actually taken the issue to the Supreme Court. And secondly, these peoples were wearing hijabs before. Until recently, 2019, according to him, they were asked to remove their hijabs. Could you confirm that story, please?
Thank you very much. That's a very wrong assumption. There wasn't any Muslim girl wearing hijab in all our mission schools right from the time of inception. That has never happened. It has never happened. The clamor for the use of hijab started around 2019, that they are clamoring for it. Now, on the second question that I think you are asking two questions.
No, that's your own question. That's your own question. The other question is for Alaji. So you were saying, okay. So you are confirming to us, Reverend, that
I want to confirm as well. Yes. When Alaji said that the percentage of mission schools in Kwara 15%. Is about 15%. Facts are there on the table. The Kwara state government, as of today, is having about 800 plus schools in Kwara state. But mission schools alone in Kwara state is 316.
I'm not sharing things.
316 mission schools out of 800 plus.
Right.
Less than 900 schools in Kwara. Mission had over 300 schools. You can guess what percentage is that. Thank you.
So have you taken this case to Supreme Court, yes or no? Have you filed the report?
Yes, the case, you know, when they say we just went to Supreme Court, the case that have been appealed since 2019, and he said we are just going there. The facts are there. The governor had the facts. The governor had the facts. Right. He had those papers.
Okay, no problem. Let me bring Alaji very quickly. Unfortunately, I have to wrap up on this.
Are you back to me?
We've run out of time, Reverend. Yes, Alaji, I'm back to you. So the question, therefore, that Tokwe had asked you before the break was, are Christian pupils allowed to go to the Muslim schools without wearing hijabs?
Christians going to Muslim schools?
Yes.
Without wearing hijab?
Are they allowed to?
Even now, Muslim girls are not compelled to wear hijab to Muslim schools. The standard has been that for any willing female students who puts hijab, she must be allowed. In Christian schools, in Muslim schools, in government-established schools, they are free not to put hijab if they don't want to put it. But I want to state clearly that the federal government has resolved this issue over 10, 12 years ago. An approval was given for use of hijab. Now the federal government colleges at the 36 states of the Federation and the federal capital. And there's a model for it. So if you go to Akwa Ibom, you go to Delta, visit Enugu or Calabar, you will discover that FGGC there, the Muslim girls who are there are putting hijab and nobody's stopping them.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up.
That private schools established by the Christians in Kwara, they are using hijab, and the Christian proprietors, they are not asking them to remove that hijab because they know Muslim children will be withdrawn.
We have to wrap up, Alaji. Unfortunately, thank you very much for helping us shed light on this. We can only hope that these pupils will be allowed to write their exams very soon, which is the most important. As Mariam has said, when elephants fight, it's the grass that suffers. So we only pray that the pupils are able to get behind this. That's all we can take. See you tomorrow. Bye for now.